Hello, hello, hello. Welcome wherever you happen to be in the world. Welcome to the Wednesday English live stream. I'm really pleased to be with you today. And if this is your first time watching, welcome. My name's Craig from mansioningles.com, where you can learn English for free on the website. Lots of activities and exercises for you to do there. We also have a podcast, and you can find the podcast at inglespodcast.com. It's every week and it's also free. And if you're interested in a B2 first course or a conversation course that I'll be talking about later, go over to englishmasterclass.net where you will find some more details. Now, as I said, here to improve your English, today I'm focusing on phrasal verbs. And if you're just coming in to watch live, yes, I'm on my own today. Sometimes I bring on a guest. Every second week, my friend Lynn from Put It Like This joins me, but she'll be hopefully with us next week. This week, it's just me. And if you're watching the replay, I hope you'll get some value out of this live on phrasal verbs. Let's see who's joining. If you are coming in live, please write your name and tell me where you're from. I'll say hi. Sophia, how are you doing? Good to see you. Gemma, good to see you as always. Thank you for coming back again. Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. Yes, we swapped some emails recently. And it's really good to see you in here live, Evelyn, to brush up your phrasal verbs. To brush up means to improve, to revise, to practice. We'll be practicing some phrasal verbs today. And Maria Clara, is that your name? Maria Clara from Buenos Aires. Two people from Argentina. Norma from Mexico, good to see you. And Danielle from Switzerland, from My Fluent podcast. Actually, Daniel, let me do something here. If you want to come in and say hi now or a bit later, I will put the link in the chat, so that Daniel, if you or anybody wants to come on and join me live, you can do that, whether you're watching on YouTube like Daniel, or whether you're watching live on Facebook. You can see the link, the StreamYard link. Just copy and paste that in your browser, and I will bring you on live with me to speak about phrasal verbs. Now, 2 weeks ago, on the 13th of October, we practiced some phrasal verbs, and I was explaining how many full verbs or normal, ordinary verbs in English often have an equivalent phrasal verb that you can use. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's strange, Craig. Why are there two ways to say the same thing? Well, sometimes they're not exactly the same, but very often the phrasal verb is a lot more informal. We often use it in spoken English, in informal spoken English. And if we're writing informal messages or emails or letters to people we have an informal relationship with. For example, last week, this is for people who were here 2 weeks ago, people who were here for the last phrasal verb live. See if you can remember the phrasal verb for to recover from something. To recover is quite a formal verb, but you can use a phrasal verb that's a little more informal. Do you remember what that was? If you remember, write it in the chat. I'm going to go through these quite quickly because we have studied them before. So you can say she recovered from her illness, and you can also say she got over her illness. Oh yeah, my friend had COVID, but she got over it in a few days. It wasn't too bad. So to get over something, you can use as a synonym for to recover from. Another example we had 2 weeks ago, to enter a room or to enter a house or a flat. And I hear many students use that full verb, and it's okay. We understand, it's fine. But a native speaker will probably say, I went in. So to enter, I would just say, to go in. I went in. I went in my flat to get my sunglasses, for example. Um, let's let's do some more just to refresh your memory. There was this quite formal verb to purchase, very common in American English. Can you purchase some milk on your way home from the office, darling? You might say to your partner. Well, it sounds a bit formal, doesn't it, to purchase something? Um, I would probably say to pick up. Can you pick up some milk on your way home? That to me in informal English is a lot more natural. Can you pick up some milk, or just can you buy, or can you get some milk, will be a lot more natural to me than purchase. But again, in American English, purchase is a lot more common. Another example we had 2 weeks ago, the dog attacked me. To attack someone. I walked past the house, the dog was in the garden. Suddenly the dog attacked me. What phrasal verb could you use for that? Well, I said the dog went for me. So if the dog goes for you, it attacks you. The cats go for you. Maybe if it's a very aggressive cat. Yeah, the cat went for me with its claws out and it hissed. Another example we had to realize, oh, she suddenly realized that she needed to pay her taxes. Not such a common phrasal verb for language learners, although it is quite common among native speakers. To dawn on you. Dawn is the time of day when the sun rises, and if something dawns on you, then you realize it. It comes to the front of your mind. You can also say it crossed my mind or crossed her mind. It became apparent. Oh, it suddenly dawned on me that I need to put petrol in the car. I suddenly realized it. Another one we had 2 weeks ago, if you remember, the police investigated the crime. To investigate is a full verb. Everybody will understand that. To investigate a murder or to investigate a robbery, a theft. But you can also say to look into. The police looked into it, or the police are looking into it. And I'll give you one or two more examples to refresh your memory. He returned the money to me. Oh, I'm returning that 50 euros I borrowed. So the phrasal verb for that one we said was to give back. Can you give me back the money, or can you give me the money back? There's a separable phrasal verb that you can put the object in the middle. He gave me the money back. He returned the money. We've discussed it. Do you remember that one? Yeah, we discussed it 2 weeks ago. The last time I was on my own with you, we discussed it. We talked it over, or we've talked it over. We had a problem, we talked it over, and now we're fine. Everything's okay. Another one we had was to visit someone, to go and visit someone. I would probably say to go round. Why don't you go round her house and have a cup of coffee with her? So he went round her house to say hi, or he went round her house for dinner. So yeah, visit, everybody understands, but to go round to someone's house, there are many phrasal verbs that you can use in replace of visit. You can go over, so you can change the particle. You can pop over or pop round. Why don't you pop round for a cup of tea? Pop over for a chat means visit me. And we'll do one more. Craig began a long grammar explanation. That's unusual. I don't like giving long grammar explanations. So to begin something, especially something that's maybe long and would take some time, you could use the phrasal verb to launch into an explanation, or to launch into a presentation, for example. Oh, we've got one more. The problem mustn't divide us. Imagine you're in a relationship, there's a problem arises, or I can say a problem comes up, and this problem mustn't divide us. You can say, using a phrasal verb, this problem mustn't come between us. If something comes between us, it can be a problem. More people have joined us. By the way, if you're watching the replay, thank you for your time. I see that you are joining in. That's fantastic. Hi, Ana Claudia from Chile. And Rita has a question. Would it be possible to totally abolish phrasal verb to get rid of? Okay, abolish is fine. I understand what you mean, Rita. I would probably say, can you get rid of it? Can we get rid of phrasal verbs and come back to the original words derived from? To derive, to come from, is the phrasal verb from Latin. They're kind of a nightmare. Well, Rita, let me tell you this. Don't panic and don't get stressed about phrasal verbs. In my opinion, if you use the formal verbs, the full verbs like abolish and derive, everybody will understand you. So you will be perfectly understood. But it is important to recognize phrasal verbs when people speak to you. If I say, Rita, pop over tomorrow for a coffee, you should understand that pop over means visit me. So you need to have your passive phrasal verbs locked in so that when you're speaking to a native speaker like me, and I use a phrasal verb, you know what I mean. And little by little, you can start learning a few phrasal verbs, writing down some phrasal verbs that you like, and little by little you will acquire them and start using them. But don't get too stressed, and please don't start learning long lists of phrasal verbs. That's not a good idea. So let's practice. Before we do that, though, I do want to tell you about something, because I'm starting a conversation course very soon, and there are still 2 places left. So if you are interested in joining my conversation course that begins on the 6th of October, go here to inglespodcast.com. Enter your name and your best email address, not your worst, your best email address. Join the email newsletter of my podcast, and I will be in touch with more details. It's 6th of October. We study twice a week. It's a very informal course. You'll be practicing your speaking mostly, and a little pronunciation and listening and vocabulary, but mostly speaking with me and a lovely group of students. The maximum is 8 in the group. We have 6 people so far, so there are still 2 places, and we begin that in a few days. So if you are interested, let me know. Replacing verbs with phrasal verbs. I have a really boring story for you, and I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to show you the story, and I'd like you to think which phrasal verbs you could use in place of the full verb. So this is the start of my boring story. I awakened when my alarm clock rang at 6:30, but I didn't arise until 6:45. Now, I can replace awaken, rang, and arise with 3 phrasal verbs. And I'm helping you by giving you the first letter of the phrasal verbs here, the first letter of the verb and the first letter of the particle. Can you please write in the chat if you identify or have a guess? What do you think the missing phrasal verbs are that I could use in this story? I awakened. What's a phrasal verb for to awaken in the morning? Very good, Rita. Rita's on the ball, which means she's paying attention, she's keen, she's fast, she's good. Hi, Eduardo. The Force Awakens. How I missed your sense of humor. We want a phrasal verb, though, Eduardo, not a Star Wars reference. Yep, well done, Eduardo. You got there. Woke up, but there are two more, aren't there? The alarm clock rang. What phrasal verb can you use for that? Remember, it's in the past tense, so you have to put the phrasal verb in the past simple. Very good, Gemma. She's got it. Went off. Yep. The alarm clock went off. Fantastic. Evelyn's got it as well. Very good, Evelyn. And Eduardo too. And the final one, but I didn't arise until 6:45. Can you think of a phrasal verb that begins with g, a, until 6:45? Yep, Eduardo's got it as well. I'll show you the answer. So I woke up when my alarm clock went off at 6:30, but I didn't get up until 6:45. Now, doesn't that sound more casual, laid back, informal? I think so. I woke up when my alarm clock went off. So alarm clocks go off. If you put an alarm on your phone, that will go off. Car alarms go off. Burglar alarms go off. They start ringing. Fire alarms go off. And of course, we get up. Hopefully, usually, sometimes, when our alarms go off. Now, let's make the story a little longer with some more phrasal verbs. I dressed myself in my tracksuit. Tracksuit is the informal jacket and trousers you wear when you do sport. If you are a Spanish speaker, it's a chandal, and you wear a tracksuit. If you warm up to play football, for example, maybe go jogging in a tracksuit. Some people wear it in the house. So, yep, you're getting there. Reme says, put on, very good. Evelyn's got it. Cesar also, fantastic. Put on, well done. You're doing marvelously. So I dressed myself in my tracksuit. I put on my tracksuit, descended the stairs. What's the phrasal verb for to descend? Very good, Rita. Well done. Evelyn got it as well. Excellent. And allowed the cat to enter the house. What would I say in more informal English, more natural English? I allowed the cat to enter the house. Yes, Gemma. So let in. Now you can say let in the cat, but because to let in is a separable phrasal verb, you can separate it. You can say, I let the cat in. Hey, can you let the cat in? You could shout to your partner. Yep, Evelyn's got it as well. Very good. So I let the cat in, then I lifted my mobile. When you lift something from the table or from the desk, no, Rita, not pull up. No, Thessa, it's not pull up. Imagine your keys are on the table, your mobile phone is on the table, when you whoop, you do this. No, not pull up, not put up. Yes, Evelyn, well done. Picked up. If you pick something up, you lift it. You lift off the table. So picked up my mobile and telephoned the office. I would not say I telephoned the office. That sounds like I'm living in the 1960s or 1950s. No, I would use a phrasal verb. So the phrasal verb for to telephone, waiting for you to answer, starts with a P, finishes with a U. So I picked up my mobile and no ideas? Okay, let me show you. Phoned up. I phoned up the office. You can also say I rang up the office or I called up the office, but you'd use the particle up to ring up, to phone up, to call up someone or a place. So, more natural with these phrasal verbs. I put on my tracksuit. Notice that the linking pronunciation there, the T in put connects to the vowel sound with o, with on, put on my tracksuit, went down the stairs and let the cat in. Then I picked up. Again, that's connected, isn't it? Picked up, picked up, picked up my mobile and phoned up. Connected again. Whenever you have a consonant followed by a vowel, there's a linking that goes on and they connect and it sounds like one word. Phoned up, picked up my mobile and phoned up the office. Moving on, let's try some more. I asked the secretary to connect me to my boss, which doesn't happen very much these days. You don't usually speak to the secretary who connects you to another person. These days, the telephone is usually automated and it happens with the wonders of technology and computers. But when I was younger, you'd speak to the secretary and you'd say, hey, can you not connect me, but can you to my boss? Yes, Gemma, very, very good. You've got it. Put me through. Rita's got it as well. Evelyn's got it as well. Fantastic. What's that, Eduardo? Did he call in sick and went for a swim? Well, you'll have to wait until the end of this fascinating story that I've written here. And maybe I won't tell you what happens in the end. Maybe I will keep you hanging on, phrasal verb, until next week before I tell you the end of the story and keep you in suspense. Maybe I'll be that horrible to you and make you wait a week for the answer at the end. So she asked me to wait a minute. So when you wait, there's a phrasal verb that begins with H and the particle begins with O, which means to wait. On the phone. Yes, you've got it, Rita. Hold on. She asked me to hold on a minute. Yes, Gemma, you can also use hang on. Very, very similar in meaning. To hang on or to hold on is to wait. But what hold on used to mean, as Jose Antonio correctly said, is to hold the line, hold on the line, which is the cable, the telephone line. So if you tell somebody hold on, these days it doesn't mean hold the line, hold on to the line. It just means wait. And Remy has got it too. Well done. So hold on. She asked me to hold on when I was eventually connected. I told my boss that I wouldn't be going to work. So the phrasal verb that means to connect, I think we had this before. It's the same phrasal verb, isn't it? So it's the same one. Yeah. It's put through again. That's my mistake. I shouldn't have used the same one twice. Craig, what are you doing? So I was eventually put through. I told my boss that I wouldn't be going to work as I wasn't well. So what's the phrasal verb that you can use informally in place of going to work? I wasn't going in, you can say. Here are the phrasal verbs in place. I asked the secretary to put me through to my boss. She asked me to hang on, or she asked me to hold on a minute. When I was eventually put through, I told my boss that I wouldn't be going in, which is going into the office or going into work, but we don't need to say that. It's obvious. I wouldn't be going in as I wasn't well. I'm sorry, I'm not going in today. Yeah, you got there. Very good, Remy. Very good, Evelyn. Fantastic. Moving on with the story. She told me not to come to work. So that's the opposite, isn't it? To go to work and to come to work. That's an easy one. For a few days. She told me not to come to work for a few days. Yes. Well done, Jose Antonio. Fantastic. Well done. We have a good relationship, so it wasn't a problem. Now, this is a 3-word phrasal verb, which means to have a good relationship. Begins with G, next word O, next word W. Yeah, it can't be get along with, Jose Antonio, because the middle word begins with O, not A. Although you can say that. You can say, yeah, I get along with my boss very well. Yep, Hammer's got it. Get on well. Evelyn's got it also. Alberto is there with the correct answer. Well done. Yep, you got there. Jose Antonio. Not go on well, Rita. Get on well. Get on well. So, let me show you. She told me not to come in for a few days. You can also say take a few days off, which is another phrasal verb. If you take time off when you're not working, you're sick. If you take a few days off, you don't go into work. I need to take a few days off. I don't feel well. I've just caught COVID. I can't come to work. I'm taking a few days off. And to get on well is to have a good relationship. I get on well with my sister. I get on well with my boss. I don't get on well with my neighbors. If you want to practice any of these phrasal verbs, please write a full sentence in the chat. I'll be happy to let you know if it's correct. So, for example, who do you get on well with? Or who do you not get on well with? You can also say, I don't get on with him. If you use the negative, it's obvious that it's a negative. You don't have a good relationship. So I don't get on with my neighbor. He's not very nice. So yes, very nice, boss, to give you a few days off. This is what we want. Time off from work. Next part of my story. My wife entered the kitchen. So we had this 2 weeks ago, didn't we? To enter your flat. Do you remember? To enter a place, enter your office, enter a room. Yes, we understand, but there's a much more common phrasal verb that we use, which means to enter. Yes, Rita knows. My wife came in the kitchen. Good. Yes, Gemma, but remember to put it in the past because entered, ed, is in the past tense. So keep these verbs in the past. It's very common when you're telling a story to use the past simple. Yes, well done, Alberto. You got there too. And Jose Antonio came, it will be, not come. So my wife came in the kitchen or came into the kitchen and pressed the button on the kettle to boil water for tea. Now, this is a very English thing. I don't think In some cultures, you do this, but the kettle is a special thing that either works with gas, or maybe not these days. Gas is very rare, isn't it? But probably with electricity to boil water. It's a special device in the kitchen, usually. And British people love to use this 8 or 9 or 10 times a day to make tea. But the expression with a phrasal verb for boiling the water or heating the water, as Evelyn correctly says, is to put on. So put the kettle on and have a nice cup of tea. It's a very British expression. Yeah. Not press, you press the button, Gemma, but you put the kettle on. And if you imagine you've got the kettle here, this is the kettle full of water. You put the kettle on the gas or on the electric rings. You're putting the kettle on the gas to boil the water. Interestingly, when I was in the States, in American English, I think they say something like put the water up. Can you put the water up? I think they say, which is very strange to me. But it's, yeah, differences in British and American English. So here we have the phrasal verb version. It's obviously much shorter and more informal. My wife came in the kitchen and put the kettle on to make a cup of tea. She put the kettle on. Easy. Now, she removed 2 cups from the cupboard and put a tea bag in each cup. What's the phrasal verb for to remove something from somewhere? No, nearly, Jose Antonio, but not quite correct. Remember, it must be in the past. And the problem you have, Antonio, is with the preposition. And Rita and Alberto as well. Yes, Alberto's got it, because if the cups are in the cupboard, then what's the opposite of in? If you're removing them from inside to outside, you probably need the preposition out, the preposition of direction, in, out, above, below, on, off, the table, for example. So in the cupboard, out the cupboard, in the car, out the car. So yeah, took out. Took out 2 cups from the cupboard and put a tea bag in each cup. Then she pressed the on and off button on the TV remote control. What's the phrasal verb which means to do this in just 2 words? If you have a remote control and you want to watch TV or use your computer. Hi, Julie. Yeah, you turn on the TV, don't you? Turn on, turn off. If you're a Spanish speaker, apagar, encender. And Evelyn, yeah, has got it as well. And Gemma's got it to turn on the TV. So she turned on the TV and we both took our places at the kitchen table. Phrasal verb, 2 words, to take your places at the table is to, yes, Rita, well done, to sit down. And what's the past tense of sit? Sat. Evelyn's got it. Yeah, sit, sat. So sat down at the kitchen table. So looking at these phrasal verbs again, she took out 2 cups from the cupboard, put a tea bag in each cup, then she turned on. Again, that linking pronunciation. Turned on. Consonant vowel. There's a linking in the sounds there. Turned on the TV and we sat down at the kitchen table. Ask me any questions if something's not clear, and please do practice these phrasal verbs in a different context, and I'll check and see if you understand the meaning, especially if they are new for you. As I was clearly not feeling well, she, that's my wife, suggested I return to bed. Actually, that should be returned to bed. I apologize. So we're looking for a past simple phrasal verb here. I don't feel well. I want to bed. Yes, well done. Well done, Rita. Well done, Jose Antonio. You're doing fantastic. Yes, Alberto. Went back. Went back to bed. Yeah, I'm going back to bed. So he went back to bed. We discussed this for a few minutes and I agreed. So this phrasal verb means to discuss. And we had this phrasal verb 2 weeks ago, if you remember. Nearly, Rita, but you need a different preposition. Keep trying. No, not touched, Alberto. Yes, Evelyn, well done. To talk over. That was the phrasal verb we had 2 weeks ago. If you discuss something, you talk it over. You can talk it over with your partner. You can talk it over with your children. You can talk it over with your boss. And it just means that you discuss it. We need to talk it over and come to a decision. Yeah, we discussed this. We talked it over for a few minutes and I agreed. But when I put myself in a standing position, remember to put the verb in the past here. When I put myself in a standing position, or when I, yes, Rita, you've got it. When I stood up, well done. Yes, Evelyn, fantastic. You're doing really well. When I stood up, so it's an irregular verb, isn't it? To stand is the infinitive. Stand, stood, stood. When I stood up, I nearly collapsed. So, what happens when your legs cannot support your weight? You feel really weak. You can't stand up. Your legs are just too weak and you collapse. No, you can use, Evelyn, you can use to faint as a full verb, but I wouldn't say faint over. And Rita, if you fall on something, then you need to have the object. I fell on the floor. I fell on my knees. So to fall on is usually followed by an object. But Rita and Evelyn, if you work together and you combine your verbs and your particles, you get the correct answer, which is I nearly fell over. Yes, you got there. I nearly fell over. So if you fall over, you fall on the floor or you fall on the ground. You can fall over in the street. You can fall over playing football. You can fall over running. Children sometimes fall over, don't they? And they graze their elbows, they graze their knees, and they start crying when they fall over. So, yeah, to collapse on the floor, the phrasal verb to fall over. So here are the phrasal verbs in that paragraph. As I was clearly not feeling well, she suggested I went back to bed. We talked this over for a few minutes, and I agreed. But when I stood up, I nearly fell over. Obviously, the blood rushed to my head, and I nearly fell over. Now, with my wife supporting me, so if you support someone, what's the phrasal verb for that? Somebody's very weak and you need to help them or support them so that they don't fall over. What's the phrasal verb for that? Any ideas? We're nearly finished. There's 2 more paragraphs left, I think. With my wife supporting me, or with my wife not no not hand me up, no, Rita. Evelyn's got it. Well done, Evelyn. With my wife holding me up. If you hold somebody up, especially if they're drunk, for example, then you support them so that they don't fall over. Well done, Eduardo. You got it as well. Fantastic. So, with my wife holding me up, I managed to ascend the stairs. What's the phrasal verb for ascend? Any idea? With my wife supporting me or holding me up, I managed to, yep, go up the stairs. Very good. Well done, Gemma. Well done, Evelyn. Well done, Jose, Antonio, and well done, Reme. That was an easy one. Good. Yep, to go up the stairs. Go up, go down the stairs, and return to bed. Another easy one. If you return somewhere, what's the last one here? Which means return. Begins with G. Yep. Hemmer's got it. Rita's got it. Go back to bed. Yeah. I managed to go up the stairs and go back to bed. Yes, you can say get back. That's fine. Get back to bed. Because if you were in bed and you get back to bed, that means you return to bed. So let's see these phrasal verbs. With my wife holding me up because I nearly fell over, I managed to go up the stairs or get up the stairs and get back or go back to bed. Very good. She telephoned the doctor. This is the final paragraph, ladies and gentlemen. She telephoned the doctor. Do you remember this from the beginning of the story? Telephone someone, old fashioned. I wouldn't say telephone these days. I'd say what? Can you, the doctor? Well done, well remembered. Yes, phoned up. Yeah, she phoned up the doctor. Phone back would be if you phoned before and you want to phone again another time. So if you spoke to the doctor before, then you can phone the doctor back, but phoned up. Yeah, well, it's totally your decision, Rita, if you use these full verbs or if you decide to use phrasal verbs. But remember to learn them so that you know what people mean when they're speaking to you. Let's finish this final paragraph. She phoned up the doctor who came to our house. This was another phrasal verb we looked at 2 weeks ago. Yes, Alberto, you've got it. Came over. He came over immediately. Come over for coffee. Come over means come to my house. Yeah, he came over immediately. Well done, Gemma. Well done, Evelyn. Apparently, I had caught COVID-19, and it'll take me a while to recover from it. Now, to recover from, we had 2 weeks ago as well. And I wonder if you know the phrasal verb, which has 3 words. It's a 3-word phrasal verb, a 3-part phrasal verb, to catch a disease or an illness. Alberto's got it. Fantastic. To come down with. So you can come down with the flu, you can come down with a cold. Sometimes I have a history of bronchitis, so sometimes if I get a cold, it goes down to my chest and I come down with bronchitis, and that's horrible. And of course, these days you can come down with COVID, can't you? Which means you catch it. You catch COVID from somebody else. So yes, I had come down with COVID, and it'll take me a while to recover from it. Do you remember recover? We had this before at the beginning today. I revised it with you. So I'm going to wait patiently until one of you tells me the phrasal verb, which means to recover. To recover from an illness, to recover from a cold or from the flu. Thank you, Hema. Finally, to get over. So it'll take me a while to. Now, because we've got the infinitive here, Hema, we've got the infinitive to, then you'd need the infinitive of the phrasal verb, because here recover is present simple. So again, present simple with the phrasal verb. It'll take me a while to get over it. Okay? As Evelyn said, and Rita said, and Eva said. So let's look at this final paragraph. She phoned up, or rang up, or called up the doctor, who came over, or who came round, means the same thing, to come to your house immediately. Apparently, I had come down with COVID-19, and it'll take me a while to get over it. So you did very, very well. Let's just go back through the story very quickly to remind you again, while you're watching this, any new phrasal verbs, any ones that you like. I always say this, you don't need to learn every word that appears, that you notice, every word or every phrasal verb. Just make a note of the ones that look interesting. If you think, oh, that would be nice to learn, to incorporate that in my vocabulary, in my lexicon, I'm going to write down ring up, because went off, to go off, because I did not know that alarm clocks go off. Did you know that? Alarm clocks go off. So if any of these phrasal verbs look interesting to you, make a note, write them down, and try to use them as soon as possible so that they stick in your mind. I woke up when my alarm clock went off at 6:30, but I didn't get up until 6:45. I put on my tracksuit, went down the stairs, and let the cat in. Then I picked up my mobile phone and I phoned up the office, or I rang up the office, or I called up the office. I asked the secretary to put me through to my boss, connect me. She asked me to hang on or hold on a minute. When I was eventually put through, I told my boss I wouldn't be going into the office, as I wasn't well. She told me not to come in for a few days. Don't come in. Stay at home and rest. Take a few days off. We get on well, so it wasn't a problem. My boss is very compassionate. My wife came in the kitchen. Hello, wife. And she put the kettle on to make some tea. She took out 2 cups from the cupboard and put a tea bag in each cup. Then she turned on the TV and we sat down at the kitchen table. As I was clearly not feeling well, she suggested I went back to bed. We talked this over for a few minutes. I don't want to go back to bed. And I agreed. But when I stood up, I nearly fell over. With my wife holding me up, I managed to go up the stairs, or get up the stairs, and go back to bed, or get back to bed. She phoned up, this is my wife, of course, she phoned up the doctor, or rang up the doctor, or rang the doctor up. Again, separable phrasal verbs. You can separate the verb from the particle. I rang the doctor up. She called the doctor up. who came over or came round immediately. Apparently, I had come down with COVID-19 and it'll take me a while to get over it. So I hope that was useful. And don't panic. Don't get stressed about phrasal verbs. They are quite annoying, I know, Rita, but just try and pick up one or two a week, perhaps, and try to incorporate them in your spoken English and your written English. And if you're not sure about the meaning, because some of them are idiomatic and not literal, for example, we take off our clothes, but aeroplanes take off. So the same phrasal verb sometimes has multiple meanings, which is also a problem. And just learn them little by little, step by step, as you go along on your English journey. That's it from me. Thank you for being here live and keeping me company. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment below and I will get to the comments and answer them if I can. And I'll just remind you that on the Mansion English website, there is a lot of help and support for phrasal verbs. Go to the vocabulary section. You'll find lists and exercises there. And also on English Podcast, if you go to the website here, inglespodcast.com, you'll see a search box. And if you type phrasal verbs in that search box, you'll find podcasts that will help you with your phrasal verbs. And to remind you again, if you are interested in English conversation, there's a course starting on the 6th of October in a few days' time. There are still 2 places left. Put your name here on the English Podcast website with your email address. Join the newsletter and I will be in touch in the next day or two with more information. Thank you again very much. Thank you, Evelyn, Alberto, Rita, Eduardo, Eva, Gemma. Thank you so much. I will be back next week with Lynn. And until then, stay safe, have a good week, and keep studying those phrasal verbs. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.